Good day everybody. I am Attorney Madril Shea B. De Guzman. I am your lecturer for Criminal Law 2. Okay. So for the past videos, we have already finished Title 1 of the Revised Penal Code, which defines and penalizes the crimes against national security and the law of nations. Okay, so tapusin natin yan. Now we move on to Title 2 of the Revised Penal Code, which defines and penalizes the crimes against the fundamental law of the state. Okay. So, when we say fundamental law of the state, ano ang tinutukoy natin? No. Okay. We are actually referring to the 1987 Philippine Constitution. Okay. It is the most basic and the most fundamental law of the state. Okay. Nandoon lahat yung civil rights and liberties ng bawat isang citizen of the Republic of the Philippines. Okay. Now, Title 2, the crimes against the crimes against the fundamental laws of the state are actually starts under Article 124 and ends under Article 133. Okay, so i-discuss natin isa-isa yung mga crimes under these topics. Okay. Now, pag sinabi nating violation ng fundamental law of the state, we already know that we have our civil rights and liberties as guaranteed by our Constitution under Article 3, Bill of Rights. Tama? Okay. Nandoon yung mga karapatan natin na enumerate under Article 3, Bill of Rights. Okay? Section 1. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of the laws, nor shall any person be denied the equal protection of the laws. Okay? Section 2. The right of the people to be secure on their persons, houses, papers, and effects shall be inviolable. Mga ganon, tama? Meron din tayong right to privacy, right for non-imprisonment for debts, etc., etc. Those rights are guaranteed under Article 3 of the Philippine Constitution. Ngayon, if there are violations for such rights, we have here the crimes, as defined under Title 2 of the Revised Penal Code, wherein you can file or you can make the offender who violates these rights under the Constitution criminally liable. Okay? So, kaya nagkaroon ng mga krimen na ito kasi nababiolate yung rights mo under the Constitution. Okay. So, we will start with Article 124 for arbitrary detention. Okay. Now, this arbitrary detention is based on a violation of your right to liberty. Okay, di ba Section 1? No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. A person who commits the acts constituting the crime of arbitrary detention actually violates the right of liberty of a particular individual. And hence, he can be criminally liable. So, may tatlong elements ang arbitrary detention. Okay. Number 1, ilagay ko dito. Offender is a public officer or employee whose official duties include the authority to make an arrest and detain a person. Number 2, he detains a person. And number 3, the detention is without legal ground. Okay. So, the crimes under Title 2 are generally committed by public officers. Okay. Kaya nakita nyo, yung first element ng arbitrary detention, he is a public officer or a public employee. Okay. As a general rule, Articles 124 up to Articles 133 are crimes committed by public officers. Exception is, a private individual can commit these crimes if they act in conspiracy with a public officer or a public employee. Balik tayo sa criminal law 1. Kasi di ba kapag conspiracy, the act of one is the act of all. Meaning, kapag yung isang private individual, generally, hindi ka magiging liable under Title 2. Hindi ka pwedeng magiging liable sa arbitrary detention. Kasi ang isang element ay you are a public officer or a public employee. Ang exemption doon is kapag ikaw, private individual, you act in conspiracy with a public officer or a public employee. Meaning, you there is an agreement, okay, with a public officer or employee to commit the acts constituting the arbitrary detention. Nag-agree kayo, okay, na i-detain yung isang person without legal ground. Okay? Ikaw, private individual, nag-agree ka sa isang public officer and employee. Therefore, you acted in conspiracy. That is the only instance wherein a private individual can be held liable for arbitrary detention. Okay, so first element, he is a public officer or a public individual. May kasunod yon. Who has an authority to make, okay, or who has as his function, okay, the authority to make an arrest or detain a person. Okay. So, yun yung first element. Okay. Who are the persons who can validly detain a person? Okay, enumerate natin sila. Ilalagay ko dito yung enumeration. Number 1, local executive officials. Number 2, punong barangay. Number 3, judges. Number 4, law enforcement agents. Number 5, commissioner on immigration. And yung sinasabi ko nga, private individuals in conspiracy with the above-mentioned persons. Okay. So, ito lang yung mga persons liable for arbitrary detention. Okay. So, tatanungin nyo, attorney, what if, private individual siya, tapos kinumit na yung acts of arbitrary detention? So, ang ibig sabihin, hindi na siya liable kasi there's no crime when there's no law punishing it? No. As I've told you a while ago, okay, the crimes under Title 2 are crimes committed by public officers. But, okay, there is also another title, okay, there is another equivalent, okay, for crimes having the same elements but committed by private individuals. So, for example, yung arbitrary detention, meron siyang equivalent na illegal detention. Okay? Okay? Yung crimes under this, meron siyang equivalent. Okay? Parang yung violation of domicile. Ang equivalent noon is trespassing. I-discuss ko yun isa-isa. Okay? Pagdating na natin doon sa specific crimes. But take in mind, na yung mga crimes under this Title 2, may equivalent silang crimes na found in other sections but committed by private individuals. Okay. So, second element, he detains a person. And third element, okay, the detention is without legal ground. Okay. Ang ibig sabihin, okay, yung isang public officer na meron siyang authority na mag-detain ng isang person, dinetain na yung isang tao at yung detention ay walang legal, okay, na batayan. Okay. So, ano nga ba ang legal na batayan para makapag-detain ang isang public officer? Okay. Under the law, tatlo yun. Number 1, commission of a crime. Okay. Pag gumawa ka ng krimen, obviously, the law enforcement agents can arrest you and detain you, correct? Okay, so, commission of a crime. Number 2, violent insanity. Okay, syempre, if you are insane and you commit violence, there's a, in order to maintain peace and order in the community, okay, the law enforcement agents can validly detain you. And number 3, ailment which requires compulsory confinement in a hospital. O parang ngayon, yung COVID, di ba? So, if there's pag sinabi na quarantine ka, okay, that will not amount to arbitrary detention because it falls under the third legal ground for detention. Okay, now, so the essence of the crime under Article 124 for arbitrary detention is that there is no warrant of arrest and the public officer, okay, detains a person, okay, and the detention or the acts does not fall within the exceptions of valid warrantless arrest. Okay? Yung detention. Okay? So, di ba, on criminal law 1, okay, nandun sa topics yung before you can arrest a person, there must be a warrant of arrest. Okay? Except on 3 instances. Okay? Nandyan yung arrest in flagrante delicto, meaning ito yung caught in the act. Okay? Siyempre, binaril si Dennis in the presence of all police officers. Yung police officers, pwede nga nang arrestuhin. Mismo yung bumaril, on the spot, caught on the act. Correct? Next. arrest in hot pursuit. Okay. Ito yung the police officer has personal knowledge, okay, that a crime has in fact just been committed, okay, and through the investigation and interview with witnesses, okay, she or he, the police officer, has probable cause to believe that it is that person who committed the act. Okay, ito yung hot pursuit. Okay. And number 3, arrest of escapees or fugitives from justice. Okay. Ito yung mga nasa confinement, okay, either because they are pending trial or because they have been found guilty of a crime. Okay, so pag tumakas sila, okay, pwede mo silang arestuhin kahit walang warrant of arrest. Okay, so these are the 3 exceptions, okay, for the general rule that there must be a warrant of arrest: in flagrante delicto, hot pursuit, and escapees or fugitives from justice. So ang ibig sabihin, okay, if a police officer, okay, detains, for example, if a police officer detains Alberto, okay, and there's no warrant of arrest, and Alberto was not in flagrante delicto, it was not hot pursuit, and Alberto was not an escapee, when the police officer detains Alberto, there is already arbitrary detention. Okay? Gets nyo? Okay. Now, para mas maintindihan natin, gawa tayo ng scenario. Okay. For example, si Alberto, pinatay siya ng unknown suspect. Okay. Alberto was shot by unknown assailants. Tapos, Dennis voluntarily surrendered to Prince and Gigi. Okay. Now, so, si Prince and Gigi, okay, went to Dennis, okay, and then, kinuha nila yung custody niya, tapos dinitain si Dennis. Okay. Note, on the facts, there is no warrant of arrest. Okay. So, the question is, okay, are the police officers, in this case, Gigi and Prince, okay, are they liable for arbitrary detention? Oh. Are they liable for arbitrary detention? The answer is no. Kasi, isa sa element, okay, second element is that the that the public officer or employee, okay, detains a person without legal ground. In this case, okay, the admission of Dennis that he committed the crime against Alberto is sufficient ground for the police officers, Gigi and Prince, to detain him. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, hindi na sila pwedeng maging liable for arbitrary detention. Okay. Second scenario. Second scenario. Okay. Second scenario natin is si Marife, si Joanne, tsaka si Jose. Okay. Now, Marife, Joanne, and Jose were rebels. Okay. So, mga rebelde sila. Okay. Because they were rebels, okay, they fought, okay, against the government. Okay. After some time, they decided, okay, na matanda na sila, and now, they decided to go down. Kumbaga, pagod na rin sila. Okay, so, sabi nila, tama na, hindi na sila lalaban sa gobyerno. So, naumundok sila, ayaw na nila. Okay, so, bumaba sila sa bundok, and they decided to settle at Sual, Pangasinan. Okay. After some time, okay, they embraced the simple life. Okay, tatanim-tanim na lang sila. Okay, meron silang garden. Okay. Thereafter, Dennis and Ace, who are police officers, learned, okay, that these 3 rebels, okay, former rebels, okay, were residing on that place. Okay. So, ang ginawa ni Dennis at ni Ace, okay, pumunta sila doon, tapos kinuha nila yung 3, and they detained, okay, these persons. Yung si Marife, si Joanne, at si Jose. Now, these 3 persons now are claiming that there is an arbitrary detention because Dennis and Ace are police officers, and that the detention is without legal grounds because they did not commit a crime. There's no violent insanity. Okay? And then, there is no ailment. Okay? Wala naman silang sakit. Okay? And it is not a valid warrantless arrest because it is not arrest in flagrante, hindi rin hot pursuit. Hindi rin daw escapees. Okay? Because they were never arrested in the first place. Okay? So sabi nila, there was an arbitrary detention. Okay? Dennis and Ace are liable for arbitrary detention. Okay. Now, question. Is the contention of Marife, Joanne, and Jose correct? Tama ba yung sabi nila na walang na may arbitrary detention? That the police officers are liable for arbitrary detention? Okay. In a case decided by the court, ang sabi ng court, Dennis and Ace, the police officers, are not liable for arbitrary detention. Why? Because rebellion is a continuing crime. And Marife, Joanne, and Jose are rebels. Okay? And there was no formal renunciation, okay, of their affiliation on that rebel group. Okay? And wala namang voluntaryong pagsuko, di ba, sa government authorities. Therefore, considering that rebellion is a continuing crime, okay, the police officers have legal ground, okay, to arrest, okay, Marife, Joanne, and Jose, meaning they are not liable for arbitrary detention. Okay. Later on, we will be discussing rebellion. Okay? Yung rebellion, nandun siya sa later portion. Okay? Tsaka na natin discuss yun in a more comprehensive manner. But that is the ruling of the court in Etic Ramos versus Indile. Okay? It's a case decided by the court. So, the police officers were not liable. Okay? Gawa pa tayo ng isang scenario para mas maintindihan natin yung arbitrary detention. Si Jacqueline, okay, si Jacqueline ay isang janitress, okay, or sabi natin aide, okay, sa RTC, Lingayen. Okay. So, she is a regular employee. Okay. So, pinapasahod siya ng RTC, government employee. Ngayon, habang naglilinin siya doon sa court premises, okay, nakita niya sino ba ang gusto niya maging? Si Jerickson. Okay. So, nakita ni Jacqueline si Jerickson. Si Jerickson is ex niya. Okay. Dahil sobrang naalala niya lahat ng hinanakit niya kay Jerickson, sinundan niya si Jerickson. And Jerickson went inside the CR, men's comfort room, okay, men's restroom. Dahil sobrang iniis ni Jacqueline, nilock niya yung pintuan ng CR. And Jerickson was detained on that CR for almost half a day. Now, is Jacqueline liable for arbitrary detention? Okay. Tignan niyo ulit yung elements. Is she liable for arbitrary detention? He is a janitress. She is a government employee. Okay. He detained Jerickson without legal ground. Okay. Answer: okay. Jacqueline is not liable for arbitrary detention. Why? Because even if she is a government employee or a public officer, okay, she does not have the authority to arrest or detain a person. Okay? Diba? Isa yun sa mga element. Okay? Hindi lang dapat public officer ka. Okay? So, hindi siya pwede maging liable under Article 1, 2, 4. Okay. What else? Last scenario. Okay. Si Alberto, ay, nililigawan niya si Esa. So, si Esa, ayaw niya si Alberto dahil si Alberto ay dahil meron na siyang boyfriend. Okay. In love siya sa boyfriend niya. Dahil sa sobrang inis, okay, ni Alberto, ang ginawa niya, okay, dinitain niya si Esa. Okay, dinitain niya sa mansion niya. Meron kasing farm si Alberto. So, malawak yung farm. Now, okay. Nung nakatakas na si Esa, okay, sabihin natin na si Alberto ay isang police officer. Pinailan niya ng arbitrary detention si Alberto. Okay. Tapos, sabi ni Alberto, ay, there's no arbitrary detention. Kasi, okay, there's no enclosure, there's no lock-up, hindi ko naman siya kinulong, hindi ko naman siya dinetain. Actually, si Esa, malaya siyang ma-enjoy yung properties ko. Malaya siyang mag-liwaliw dyan sa farm ko. And sabi niya, so there's no arbitrary detention kasi hindi naman siya nakadetain eh. Yun ang sinabi ni Alberto. Malaya siyang gumala, malaya siyang gawin yung kung anong gusto niya. Now, is Alberto liable for the crime of arbitrary detention? The Supreme Court ruled that yes. Despite the fact that there are no enclosures, okay, he is still liable. Okay? Because even if there is no actual deprivation, okay, yung sinasabi kasi dito, for as long as there is an actual deprivation of the right to liberty, you are liable. Kahit na hindi mo siya kinulong, okay, per se, because there is a deprivation of liberty, okay, meaning hindi naman siya makaalis doon, okay, then you are still liable for arbitrary detention. Remember that the element or the material essence of this crime is that a person is deprived of his or her liberty. Kahit na nandyan siya, hindi siya malayang umalis. Correct? Si Esa, hindi naman siya malayang umalis. Therefore, Alberto is liable for arbitrary detention. Okay? So, note that in arbitrary detention, meron lang specific persons who are liable. Okay? So, yan yung local executive officials, punong barangay, judges, prosecutors, law enforcement agents, commissioner on immigration, and private persons in conspiracy with public officer. Okay. So, parang yung sinasabi ko kanina, okay, what if, kung doon sa example ko, between Alberto and Esa, what if si Alberto is hindi siya hindi siya police officer? What crime is committed? It is illegal detention. Okay, so, he may not be liable for arbitrary detention under Article 124, but Alberto is liable for illegal detention. Okay, same through doon sa kaninang example, si Jacqueline. Okay, nung kinulong niya si Jerickson. Okay, Jacqueline is not liable for arbitrary detention, but she is liable for illegal detention. Okay? So, that is the crime of arbitrary detention. Okay? Next video, we will be discussing the succeeding crimes, which is delay in the delivery of detained persons to the proper judicial authorities. Okay?